The development of Northern Australia is one of those issues that invariably provokes a lot of talk and very little action. Now, last year the federal government released its white paper on the subject. It was very, very bullish about the North and promised a special focus on water and a lot of money for roads and communications. The Minister for the North is Senator Matthew Canavan. I caught up with him last week, and even the Minister admitted little has happened so far, but the Minister promised big things are on the way.
Well, look, the white paper was announced last year, and the funding under that white paper starts on July 1 this year. So very soon we'll be selecting roads, we'll be selecting some water projects, and also establishing a $5 billion infrastructure loan facility to select those projects.
So no picks in the ground or surveyor pegs?
There's none in the ground at this stage, but we have completed a number of milestones already, such as establishing the legislation for the Northern Australian Infrastructure Facility, moving the Office of Northern Australia from Canberra, for some reason it was in Canberra, to Darwin, establishing a major projects approval authority there in Darwin as well, and we've just recently announced that the Northern Australian Infrastructure Facility will be based in Cairns. So there is a lot happening, and there'll be a lot more happening over the next year.
Now, there's a one-word key to the development of Northern Australia. I'd suggest that word would be water.
Well, water's going to be a big part of it. It does represent the North 60% of Australia's water resources, and compared to Southern Australia, they are less developed. And there are more opportunities, I would say, in the north. The government wants to develop all of our water resources across Australia as part of its agricultural plan, but there are probably proportionally more opportunities in the north. The Murray-Darling, of course, is not in the north, but the Fitzroy Basin in Queensland is. The Fitzroy Basin in Western Australia is. Rivers in the Cape have got enormous potential as well, and there's a lot of opportunities there to drive agricultural growth in our country.
Will dams be part of the equation in Northern Australia? I mean, political parties, the Greens, the Labor Party, indeed the LNP, they don't have a good track record of building dams. Well,
certainly the last quarter of the century, dams has been a four-letter word, but we've been consistent in wanting to change that as a government. We have built some dams in this country more recently. Even Peter Beattie here in Brisbane built a dam down in Logan for Brisbane's water supply. We probably could have done more on looking at, investigating and building dams in the last quarter of a century, but despite that, dams remain an important way of guaranteeing future water needs, be they urban, be they for the resources sector, or of course be they for growing food.
Now, old-timers in the north insist to me that Northern Australia is suitable for three things: Indigenous tourism, mining, and the breeding of Bos Indicus cattle to put on boats and send them to Asia. How do you get away from that perception?
Well, I don't share that view. In fact, there are many successful irrigation projects in the north. There's the Burdekin, there's Mareeba Jimboola, there's Emerald, there's Catherine Mataranka, and even the Ord now, despite its missteps early on, is certainly hitting its straps now. There are plenty of irrigation projects around the world between the two tropics. There's going to be a huge number of the world's middle class between those tropics. They're going to have to grow a lot of the world's food, and Northern Australia should be part of that food boom as well. We've succeeded to do that in the past. I'm sure we will in the future, and the government's got plans to help push that along through this agenda.
So the big plan for the north, what can Australians expect in, say, 5 years' time?
Well, look, in 5 years' time, I hope we certainly have or are building some dams and creating new irrigation precincts. I'm very positive about the opportunities in the Fitzroy River there in Queensland. There are some projects that are well advanced. There are other projects like the Lonergan Dam in Cairns, the Urana Dam in the Burdekin, Hell's Gate in the Burdekin as well, which need a little more work because we haven't done the work over the last quarter of a century. But in 5 years, that work will be complete and we'll be moving forward with this agenda.
Minister, tough gig, good luck. Thanks for your time on Landline.
Thanks very much, Kerry.
Senator Matthew Canavan, Minister for Northern Australia. Now we'll